On March 3rd, 2025, about an hour before I locked up my shop for the night, a clean white sedan rolled into my bay with a dashboard full of nothing. No check engine light, no noise, no warning at all. The owner had done everything right. He had the folder to prove it. Every oil change stamped at exactly 10,000 miles, right on the manufacturer's schedule, right on time, for 8 straight years. He was not there because something was flashing at him. He was there because his engine was 2 quarts low and he had no idea how it got that way. Today, I am revealing why that 10,000-mile number printed in your Toyota's maintenance schedule is one of the most misunderstood figures in the entire car world, and why following it perfectly can quietly wear out an engine that was built to run for 300,000 miles. I have been turning wrenches for over 2 decades, and I want to be careful here, because this is not one of those videos where a mechanic screams that the manufacturer is lying to you. Toyota is not lying. The 10,000-mile interval is real. It is printed in the manual, and for a specific kind of driver, it is completely fine. But that is the part almost nobody explains. That number was never designed for the way most people actually drive. It was designed for a best-case scenario that very few of us live in. And when you take a best-case number and apply it to a worst-case life, the oil in your engine ages far faster than the odometer suggests. Here is the uncomfortable truth most drivers never hear. The mileage on your oil is not the same as the wear on your oil. 2 cars can both hit 10,000 miles and be in completely different condition inside. One did it cruising down the interstate at a steady 70 miles per hour with the engine fully warmed up, oil hot, moisture cooked off, everything operating exactly the way the engineers imagined. The other did it in 5-mile hops to the grocery store and back, sitting in stop-and-go traffic, cold starts every single morning, the engine barely reaching full temperature before it got shut off again. Same 10,000 miles on paper. 2 completely different fluids when you drain them. And this is where you have to understand what oil actually goes through, because it is not just a lubricant sitting quietly in the pan. Every time you start a cold engine, fuel that has not fully burned washes down the cylinder walls and slips past the rings into the oil. Moisture condenses inside the engine and mixes in. Combustion produces acids, and those acids end up in the oil too. Now here is the key part. When the engine reaches full operating temperature and stays there for a while, most of that fuel and moisture boils off and evaporates out through the ventilation system. The oil essentially cleans itself. But on a short trip, the engine never gets hot enough for long enough. The fuel stays, the water stays, the acids build, and your oil starts breaking down chemically long before it looks dirty on the dipstick. That is the trap. People judge their oil by how dark it looks or how many miles are on it. But the thing that actually protects your engine is invisible. Every quality synthetic oil contains an additive package, detergents, anti-wear compounds, acid neutralizers. Mechanics measure the health of that package with something called the total base number, or TBN. Think of it as the oil's remaining ability to fight acid and protect metal. When the TBN runs out, the oil can look perfectly clean and still be doing almost nothing to protect your engine. And short trips, cold weather, and idling burn through that additive package shockingly fast. Now let me show you the part that Toyota puts right there in the manual that almost nobody reads. Open your owner's manual to the maintenance section and you will not find one schedule. You will find 2. One is labeled for normal driving conditions. That is the 10,000-mile, 12-month schedule everyone knows. But right next to it is a second schedule for what Toyota calls special operating conditions. And that schedule says 5,000 miles or 6 months, whichever comes first. So what counts as special operating conditions? This is the part that will surprise you. Repeated short trips of less than 5 miles. Driving in cold temperatures where those short trips are under 10 miles. Extensive idling or long periods of low-speed driving, which is the technical way of describing stop-and-go traffic. Driving on dusty or gravel roads. Towing, hauling, or using a roof rack. Read that list again and ask yourself honestly, how many of those describe your daily life? Short commute, cold winters, traffic, school runs. If you are nodding, then according to Toyota's own manual, you are not a normal conditions driver. You are a severe conditions driver, and your real interval was 5,000 miles the whole time. Most people qualify for the shorter schedule and never even know the shorter schedule exists. And there is a quiet little clue Toyota builds right into the car that tells you everything. On most modern Toyotas, the maintenance reminder light comes on every 5,000 miles, not every 10,000. It is tied to the tire rotation interval. So the car itself is pinging you at the halfway mark. A lot of people see that light, get their tires rotated, and are told the oil can wait another 5,000 miles. And technically, under ideal conditions, that is true. But the car is already flashing at the exact interval that would have protected the engine best. Now here is the uncomfortable question. If 5,000 miles is clearly the safer number for most drivers, why is 10,000 miles the headline number, the one on the window sticker, the one the dealer quotes? And this is where I have to be honest about incentives without turning it into a conspiracy. There are a few real reasons. First, modern full synthetic oil genuinely is far better than what we ran 20 years ago, so longer intervals are more defensible than they used to be. That part is legitimate. But second, a longer interval means a lower advertised cost of ownership, and cost of ownership is a number manufacturers compete on when you are deciding what to buy. Fewer scheduled visits looks cheaper on paper. And third, those thin 0W20 and 0W16 oils that make these long intervals possible were chosen partly to squeeze out better fuel economy numbers, because thinner oil creates less drag. None of that is evil. But none of it is really about maximizing the lifespan of your specific engine either. It is about balancing a lot of priorities, and your engine's longevity is only one of them. And I want to show you exactly what happens when extended intervals meet an engine that cannot tolerate them, because Toyota already lived through this. If you own certain 2007 to 2011 four-cylinder Camrys, RAV4s, Corollas, or Scions with the 2.4-liter engine, you may remember the oil consumption nightmare. That engine had an oil control ring design where tiny return holes would clog with carbon over time. Once those holes plugged, oil got trapped, could not drain back, and started burning off in the combustion chamber. Owners were losing a quart every 1,200 miles or worse, often with no warning light at all. It got so widespread that Toyota launched a warranty enhancement program covering roughly 1.9 million vehicles and extended coverage to 10 years or 150,000 miles. Their own threshold for calling consumption excessive was 1 quart burned in 1,200 miles. Now here is why that story matters for this video. Carbon buildup that clogs those oil passages is accelerated by exactly one thing above all others: oil that has been left in the engine too long, breaking down, forming deposits. The engines that suffered worst were very often the ones run hard on long intervals with cheap oil. It was a perfect storm of a marginal design meeting extended interval maintenance. And it is the clearest proof I can give you that the number on the schedule is not a magic guarantee. The oil does not know what the manual says. It only knows how hot it got, how long it sat, and how much abuse it absorbed. So let me be fair to the other side, because I promised I would be. If you are a highway commuter who drives 40 minutes each way at steady speed, engine fully warmed, using genuine full synthetic, you can absolutely run closer to that 10,000-mile number and be fine. Those are easy miles. Highway driving is the gentlest thing you can do to oil. For that driver, changing at 5,000 is not dangerous. It is just slightly wasteful. So this is not about fear. It is about matching the number to your actual life instead of blindly trusting a figure that assumes a life you may not live. Which brings us to the real number, the one that actually protects the engine. For the overwhelming majority of real-world drivers, the short trips, the cold starts, the traffic, the school runs, that number is 5,000 miles or 6 months, whichever comes first. And I want to be clear that I am not inventing that figure to sound cautious. That is Toyota's own severe service number, sitting right there in the same manual as the 10,000. I am not overriding the manufacturer. I am pointing you to the half of the manufacturer's advice that rarely gets mentioned. But if you want to stop guessing entirely, there is a way to know for certain what your engine needs, and almost nobody uses it. It is called a used oil analysis. When you change your oil, you send a small sample to a lab, and for around $30 or $40, they tell you exactly how your oil held up, the wear metals building up inside your engine, and critically, the remaining TBN, the additive life left in the oil. Do this once or twice, and you stop arguing with the internet forever, because you have hard data on your engine, your driving, your climate. If your oil comes back exhausted at 5,000 miles, you have your answer. If it comes back with plenty of life at 7,500, you have that answer too. It removes all the guessing. And here are the habits that matter just as much as the interval itself. Use genuine full synthetic in the exact grade your engine calls for, usually 0W20, because these engines were designed around that specific oil. Do not cheap out on the filter. A quality filter is doing the actual straining, and a bad one can bypass and let contaminants circulate. And most importantly, check your oil level yourself between changes. Pull the dipstick once a month. That white sedan I told you about at the start would never have run 2 quarts low if the owner had spent 30 seconds under the hood instead of trusting the calendar. The schedule tells you when to change the oil. It does not tell you whether the oil is disappearing in the meantime. Only you can catch that. Because here is what I want you to walk away understanding. Modern engines do not usually die from one dramatic failure. They wear out quietly, from 1,000 ordinary heat cycles running on oil that gave up its protection a couple thousand miles ago. The 10,000-mile number is not a lie, and it is not a scam. It is a best-case answer to a question most drivers are not actually asking. Your engine does not read the manual. It only feels the oil. And the moment you start matching your interval to how you really drive instead of what the sticker says, you stop being a passenger in your own maintenance and start actually protecting the machine. So before your next oil change, do 3 things. Check which schedule you actually fall under. Pull your dipstick and look at your real oil level. And if you want certainty, spend $40 on an oil analysis and let your own engine tell you the truth. If this changed how you think about that number on your maintenance schedule, hit like, so more Toyota owners see it before their engine pays the price. Subscribe if you want weekly breakdowns that put you back in control of your own car instead of the service counter. And if you have ever caught your oil low or found out the hard way which schedule you really belonged on, drop it in the comments. Because the most expensive mistake in car ownership is not the repair you paid for. It is the wear you never saw coming.